What if I told you that you have just 90 days left to change your life or be forgotten forever? Not next year, not someday, 90 days, 13 weeks, 90 sunrises to rise as a different man or remain who you have always been. Would you keep living like time is a luxury? Would you still waste your mornings, scroll through your hours, explain your way out of action? Or would something violent and divine awaken within you, a decision that now is the only moment you own and that your entire future is being written by what you do today? Listen to me. You are not lacking opportunity. You are lacking urgency. The only reason you do not live as a man of fire is because you believe you'll have more time. That is the drug of the drifter, the lie of the defeated, the lullaby of the mediocre. They tell themselves they'll begin tomorrow, while the life they were meant to live is dying in silence. But I tell you now, the clock is real, the sand is falling, and life is watching what you will do with the time you have left. Not in general, now. What if you stopped pretending? What if you moved like the next 90 days were the final window you would ever be given? What if you lived with the desperation of a man whose name, legacy, future, and very identity depended on what he builds in these next 1,296 hours? This is your chance. This is your trial. This is your furnace of reinvention. And I speak now not to the man you've been, but to the man you were meant to be. The man who does not delay. The man who no longer needs approval. The man who decides. You must not merely hear these words, you must let them enter your bloodstream. Because if you live these next 90 days with unforgiving focus, with sacred urgency, with law in your mind and fire in your lungs, then you will never return the same. And no man, no fear, no voice from your past will be able to recognize the force you've become. You were not born to repeat years of weakness. You were born to rise in moments of power. This is one of those moments, and if you walk through this gate, you will come back completely different. Now let me tell you why this message matters more than anything else you could hear today. Because most men never really listen. They hear sounds. They consume information. They nod. They agree. But they do not submit their mind to instruction. They do not obey the command of wisdom. They do not sit at attention, as if their very survival depended on what enters their ears. But if you would just listen with intention, if you would listen like a starving man listens for footsteps, like a soldier listens for orders in war, like a prisoner listens for the key turning in the lock, then these next minutes could become your turning point. Not because I am speaking, but because you are finally ready to receive. These principles are not casual. They are sacred law. They are built on the blood of those who failed and the discipline of those who overcame. They are born from the minds of men like Edison, Ford, Carnegie, Rockefeller, who listened to purpose, obeyed its laws, and rose to command nations of wealth, influence, and power. If you treat these words like entertainment, you will remain exactly as you are. But if you receive them like oxygen, like orders from infinite intelligence itself, like the final instruction before the last door closes, you will rise. You are being called to attention, called to order, called to become the man who no longer waits for change, but enacts it. This speech is not a suggestion. It is your summons. This is not for your comfort. It is for your conquest. And if you will listen, not with your ears, but with your will, you will never be the same again. So sit up, steal your breath. Let every word enter your subconscious like fire. This is not just another message. This is the hour your future has been waiting for. Act like the next 90 days are all you have, and come back completely different. Let me repeat it one more time to make it really sink into your bones. What if I told you you had only 90 days left to alter your destiny or lose it forever? What if you knew the hourglass had been turned and the last grains of your potential were now falling? Would you still wait? Would you still complain, procrastinate, or pause? Or would you rise at once, fully possessed by purpose, and act as if everything depended on you? Let me tell you plainly, it does. And the tragedy is not that most men die without becoming what they could be. The real tragedy is that they live that way for years while pretending that they have time. The masses suffer not from poverty of money, but poverty of urgency. They act as if eternity is theirs, as if the calendar is infinite, as if the seasons will always come back. But hear this now, time is not your friend. It is your final master. It cannot be reasoned with. It does not forgive delays. It offers no refunds. And for the man who drifts, it gives nothing back. The man who wastes time wastes his only true currency. And no man has ever earned greatness who treated time lightly. There is no someday. That word has built more graves than wars. It has buried more dreams than failure. It is the word of the drifter, the man who says, "One day I'll begin." But one day is not a day of the week. It is an illusion that keeps you still while the clock devours your potential. Say this aloud. I act now. I work under urgency. I will not delay. Do not mistake this truth for panic. This is not fear. This is awakening. This is the sacred alarm that calls the great to rise, the bell that tolls in the mind of the purposeful man, the sound that shakes the idle from their sleep, if they are willing to hear it. Let me give you an example. A salesman I once knew was failing in every way. His numbers had plummeted. His confidence shattered. His employer gave him 90 days, nothing more. Not to improve, not to try, but to become someone else entirely. A man of performance, a man of decisiveness, a man of hunger. At first he protested, he blamed the market, the leads, the training, but then something snapped. Not in weakness, in will. He said, "If I only have 90 days, then I will become unrecognizable. I will live like a man who has nothing left to lose." He rose early, studied daily, called twice the quota, closed with fire, and on the 89th day, he doubled his target. He didn't succeed because he got lucky. He succeeded because the pressure revealed who he really was. Pressure reveals identity. Long timelines create laziness. Short timelines create decisiveness. The man who believes he has forever never begins, but the man who believes he has 90 days begins now. And what you begin now, you must finish in fire. You do not need 10 years. You do not need more motivation. You need a reason to act like the man you were always meant to be, right now. That reason is this: your life will not wait for you to feel ready. And if you do not rise, the life you could have lived will become a memory that never was. The next 90 days are not a punishment. They are not a threat. They are a gift, a sacred countdown, a furnace in which you may burn off every weak identity, every excuse, every delay. This is the time to become new. Not slowly, not someday, but now. Let us declare this truth together. These 90 days are mine. I will work under divine urgency. I will become the man I was sent to be. You are not being tested by accident. You are being tested for promotion. But before life gives a man more, it must see what he does with less. Before riches comes routine. Before power comes preparation. Before breakthrough comes discipline under the tyranny of time. Your name is being written now, not later, now. And whether that name becomes forgotten or legendary depends on what you do with these 90 days. And so I say to you, stand up, look yourself in the mirror, ask, what if I had only 90 days? And when the answer hits your soul, move, because you no longer have the luxury of waiting. If you had only 90 days to transform, who would you have to become? Not what would you achieve, not what goals would you chase, but who would you become? What would the man inside you look like? If you knew the clock would not reset, that is the real question. Because until you change the man, the results will always return to failure. You do not get what you want. You get who you are. Every man desires wealth. Every man speaks of freedom. But the universe does not answer wants. It answers character. It does not reward the dreamer. It rewards the doer. And the doer begins with identity. The world does not give you more until you become more. So I ask you again, who must you become? Most men begin their life asking what they can get, but the wise man begins by asking what he must give, and what kind of man he must become to give it. This is the way of kings, builders, pioneers, and inventors, not seekers of comfort, but forgers of power. If you are to transform in 90 days, you must first bury the man you've been. What thoughts must die? What excuses must be thrown into the fire? What fears must be exposed and left behind? What addictions, delays, distractions, and identities no longer serve the man you are becoming? Say it now. I act like a man reborn. I kill the weak version of myself daily. This is not philosophy. It is commandment. You cannot rise if you are still dragging the corpse of your old life. You cannot wear a crown if you are clinging to chains. And you cannot receive what is new unless you are willing to destroy what is familiar. Let me give you a story. In his early years, Abraham Lincoln was not the man who saved a nation. He was mocked, considered unimpressive. His business ventures failed. His speeches stumbled. His heart was heavy with doubt. But then he vanished. Not from the world, but from who he had been. He withdrew. He reflected. He reconstructed his identity. He returned not as a joke, but as a leader. Not as a victim, but as a voice of law and resolve. And when he emerged, he was no longer the man the world had known. He had become the man history would never forget. This must be your path. Write down your old self's obituary. Do it without mercy. Every weakness, every excuse, every fear. Burn it. Watch the smoke rise. Let it mark the death of the man who wasted years. Then take a clean page. Write the name of the man you will now become. Be specific. He wakes at this hour. He speaks this way. He eats with discipline. He speaks purposefully. He works without apology. He is not shaken by circumstance. He is the standard, not for praise, but for obedience.